Do you have 6 p.m.? Bonnie, do you have 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, then I call this June 13th meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Any changes to the agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
And I will second.
All in favor? Okay, that looks unanimous. On to the first item, Darby rental.
I am Marion Ray. I'm a zoning planner for York County. We're going to see if this works for us tonight. All right, here we go. All right, our first item tonight is a public hearing for a waiver for Oakridge Meadows. Y'all may remember this one came in a few months ago for a rezoning to RMX 10. It's 8 homes on 3 parcels, and Mr. Darby would like to divide them up, put each house on its own parcel, make it conforming, kind of clean up the situation here. So part of the new code requires open space for a development like this. 20% of it would have to be open space. Now this is existing, these are not new homes, it's just a new configuration of lots. So because of that, I drew up this little draft here, just kind of giving you an idea what the open space would look like for this development. And they are requesting a waiver from this requirement. So their waiver is waiving the entire 20% open space requirement. I'll go back a little bit. This is unusual. We don't do too many of these, so I'm trying to give you a little bit of a little backstory. So this property here is north of McConnell's Highway and east of Eastview. Again, it's 8 homes on 3 parcels. You did see it for the rezoning to RMX 10, which did pass through council. And then they've also received a road frontage variance from BZA for the 2 little ones down in the corner there. So they've done quite a bit of work on this one. And I'll go through the findings here for the waiver. This is a little bit like a Board of Zoning Appeals waiver. There are 2 findings you have to find in order to approve. So as staff members, we write what we believe the findings are and then our recommendation, but the board can, or the commission can make their own findings if they'd like. So the first finding here per code is the applicant can show that a provision of these regulations would cause unnecessary hardship because of topographical or other conditions peculiar to this site. So the project site has appropriate acreage and available area to provide the required 0.66 acres of platted open space for the neighborhood. So staff finds the proposed waiver for the 20% open space does not meet this criteria. And then the second finding is the Planning Commission finds that a departure may be made without defeating the intent of the provision of this chapter. The existing non-conforming development does not provide open space, and the provision of such will have little impact on the development and surrounding neighborhood. There are 3 homes to the north of the neighborhood existing. They've been there for quite some time. This entire configuration has been there for quite some time. So staff finds proposed waiver meets the criteria to allow for 0 open space. But since the did not meet both findings, we have to recommend denial for the elimination of the 20% open space waiver. This is an open part of the meeting, so our applicant is here to present their side of the case. They should have the opportunity to do so, and then they'll have any answers for questions that you might have about this development.
Do we need to make a motion to start the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes, I thought so. Okay. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I move that we open the public hearing on this.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. All right, as a public hearing, if you'd like to step up, please state your name and address for the record.
All right. The clicker doesn't work. Give me a heads up, and I can use the button.
The click. Oh, okay. Is it a pointer too? Yes. Okay, great. It just doesn't work. Hey guys, how are we? I'm Timothy Garland. You want my office address?
I believe it's your home address that we need.
I normally don't use my home address.
Is it
for
home
business.
address or office? Office is
Office.
fine.
All right,
Okay,
it's
thank you.
361 Charlotte Avenue, Rock Hill, South Carolina. I represent Darby Rentals through Keller Williams and the Timothy Garland Real Estate Group and Darby Capital. The reason we're here today is, one, we've had this fun project we've been working on for months and months and months now. So we're trying to get it done, approved, make it more conforming, even though it's seriously non-conforming. I mean, it is a mess. So we're trying to finish closing out the estate. This is one of the last remaining parcels of the estate they were going to take. Since it's such a mess, such little homes, go send it over to Section 8 and just have a nice little corridor of Section 8 housing. That's not what I recommended. I recommended let's go through this process, clean it up, make them nice, and let the community who really needs homes in this location, especially more affordable homes, these size, they're well and septic, that's what people want, give them a more affordable home. So that's the reason we've gone through subdividing, taking this from extremely non-conforming to still non-conforming, but a better version of non-conforming. The open space, the reason we really want to get rid of that is because of the future for septic repairs. It's eliminating space from these already small lots, which are going to hurt any future drain lines, a replacement of a well, anything that's going to help the development of the property, since these homes are, I think, the 40s and the 50s. They're old. They're going to need new septics one day, new wells one day, and this is just a little bit of a, I say, not common sense to add the open space to something that doesn't need it. If it was a new subdivision, which I've been involved with, yeah, we need that. Regulations, green space, open space, playgrounds, I get it. These being so old, they're not needed. So that's really where we stand. That's it. It's just they need area to have growth in the future for septics. And taking away space and saying, hey, this is an open space for these small little 8 homes, it's not going to be used, and it's just going to be overgrown. It's going to be an eyesore for the community, especially the neighbors who are behind there. So that's it.
Do we have any questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
So now this is a question for staff. Having been built in the 40s and 50s, would have been before the zoning and all of the requirements. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to then say, we're going to impose our new requirements on something that's been existing for 70 years.
Yes,
in
but
that
we do have to
location.
use the current code for any kind of development.
But to make I mean, I can certainly understand the request for a waiver on something that's been there, that now this has come on top of them.
Right,
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was
that's why we're here.
perfect. Any other questions of staff?
I do. What would have been the open space requirement before recode?
It would have also been 20%.
Okay.
Just as a point of discussion, I actually appreciate the second point more than the first. I feel like if you have the existing homes to the back and looking at the, aerial photo, that looks to be a maintained area. And I fear, with a small group like this, that would become less of a maintained area. So that will influence my vote.
Okay, do we have any further questions of staff? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, we need to close the public hearing, don't we?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes.
For and against.
thank you. Okay, do we have anybody speaking against this request? Okay. Anybody's here to speak for the request outside of the applicant? Oh. Please step forward, state your name. I think most of us know you, but please state your name and your address for the record.
James Darby, 2512 Zinker Road. These houses were built when they met all the codes that were required when they were built. And it's 3 separate tracks. It was 3 houses on one, 3 houses on another one, and 2 houses on the third one. And we could have took them individually, one track at a time, but that would have been, would even been more confusing. But we went before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and when we submitted the drawings showing the separated lots, and of course there was concern that they would be big enough to do well and septic on, and it will be difficult for them to do septic repairs. And a lot of these systems, these septic systems are already the same age as the house. So, you know, there's definitely gonna probably be some septic repairs required. And to take away, you know, property off the back of these lots just eliminates room for these people that'll eventually buy them to be able to improve them by putting in new drain fields. So that's the main reason. I mean, it'll be out of my hands. I mean, as far as, I'm just thinking down the road, whoever buys them is gonna create an issue for if they're made smaller. But anyway, y'all got any questions for me?
Thank you.
All right.
Is there anybody else to speak for the variance? Okay. So do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Now, do we have a motion on the variance?
I make a motion to grant the variance. I feel like if this is more of just a timing issue than, you know, if this was a new development, obviously, I don't think there would be as much concern, but I mean, there's already homes out there, so nothing's gonna change. You know, it's, if anything, it would take away from what's already out there
Okay,
by cutting out another piece of property.
all right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of granting the variance? All right, excellent. On to item 2.
All right, and now we have their preliminary plat. All right, get through. I'm trying to get. All right, so same project. This is preliminary plat. It is showing the open space waived, but it does show the tree save. It would be like an easement. So they are providing tree save, but no open space per the waiver. The other issue with this is they are supposed to have a 50-foot buffer around the subdivision. They were scheduled for the BZA meeting last week. That could not meet quorum, so it has been rescheduled for July. So one of our conditions of approval for this would be pending the approval of that buffer. We're trying to make it so that if the buffer is waived or waived by the BZA, we can go ahead and get it all taken care of instead of trying to come back. So I'll go through the findings here. Developer has provided willingness and capability letters. Each proposed lot has an existing well and septic system serving each home on the submitted plat, and that makes the second part of this finding not applicable. And then proposed land use and density complies with the zoning district requirements. Single-family residential is an allowed use. The RMX 10 zoning district has a maximum density of 0.25 dwelling units per acre. This development has a density of 2.42 dwelling units per acre, coming in just under. TIA was not required for this amount of lots. And then for number 4, development provides adequate street connectivity and pedestrian facilities. The lots are accessed from the existing Oakridge, Meadows, Court, and Corwin Drive, both of which are maintained by York County. The open space and buffers, the open space has been waived, and the buffers are pending the July 14th BZA meeting. And then other applicable zoning and subdivision code requirements are not applicable. We've already covered them. So we recommend approval. The first condition would be predicated on a favorable vote of the BZA allowing a variance from the required 50-foot buffer yard, and number 2 no longer applies in this case. back to the plat. Maybe. There we go. You have any questions for staff?
Couple quick ones. So what will the buffer area be if it's not 50 feet? What's it actually gonna wind up
It would
being?
be 0.
It would
So
be
they're
nothing.
they're requesting an entire waiver of the
Okay.
buffer.
And then the second question is, not sure everything I'm seeing on this map. Are there utilities for water and sewer near here at all, or no?
There are none, no county provided. They're all
Okay.
private. There's well and septic for
That's
each.
right. So there's no public utility anywhere near. Okay,
Not that-
thank you.
Yeah, not anywhere nearby.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the condition as stated by staff.
Condition 1?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that looks unanimous. On to item 3, flowing meadows.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
All right. This is my last one. You won't see me after this, I promise. Preliminary plat for Flowing Meadow Farms. People have asked me about the spelling. Ms. Flo's last name has an E in it. That's why we're doing this. Let's see. All right, so here's the parcel here is at the corner of Charlotte Highway and Davis Farm Road, kind of halfway between here and Hands Mill Parkway along 49. We are requesting 3 lots out of the subject parcel. This is part of a historic major subdivision. There have been many lots taken off of this parcel to the point where it has to go through preliminary plat at this point. You can see the 3 lots here. We have one narrow one to the north, the large residual piece, and then about 10 acres just south of the pond over there. I'll go through the findings. Developers provided willingness and capability letters. The site will be serviced by private well and septic as indicated on the plat. And then written statements from DHEC indicating the approval of septic tanks is not required due to the large lot size. Anything less than 2 acres requires that letter. The proposed land use and density complies with the zoning district requirements. Single-family residential is an allowed use. The AGC 1 zoning district has a maximum density of 0.2 dwelling units per acre, and this development has a density of 0.04 dwelling units per acre, assuming 1 home on each lot. A TIA was not required and not provided. And then the development provides adequate street connectivity and pedestrian facilities. Development is accessed from existing Charlotte Highway and Davis Farm Road, both maintained by the state. Sidewalks are not required due to the minimum proposed lot width of 100 feet. And then open space and buffers. Open space or buffers are not required due to the zoning designation of AGC 1 and have not been provided. And then number 6 is not applicable. So staff does recommend approval of this, and we do not have any suggested conditions at this time.
Do we have any questions of staff?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
You say in here that this is the 9th, 10th, and 11th lots created.
Yes.
Okay. So that would have required the preliminary plat. How come we didn't see 7 and 8?
Because the 5-acre exemption was previously used as, if you had road frontage, you could use the 5-acre exemption. However, we have determined it does not exempt you from major subdivision. So if you can do 6 5-acre lots, but after that, you must go through major subdivision.
But isn't the state rule say that 5-acre lots are not part of a subdivision?
It's
not
exempt from
considered a-
certain rules, but it is not exempt from all rules. So it's exempt from, they don't have to meet road frontage necessarily, some of the site design standards, that kind of thing, but they are not exempt from major subdivision rules.
Any further questions?
Another real quick one.
Yes, sir.
The statement about DHEC, so where is that threshold?
2 acres, if your lot is less than 2 acres, we require a DHEC permit for that lot to prove it'll perk.
Okay,
Once you have 2 acres or more, we assume you're going to find space.
2 acres more. Thank you.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, that looks unanimous. On to item 2213.
Good evening, everybody. Our first rezoning case is case number 2213, New Old LLC at 2270 Gray Rock Road, tax map number 65400000008. The request here is to rezone a 2.88 acre parcel from AGC to RSF 40, and the applicant proposes to subdivide the parcel to be able to construct 2 new homes. And just as a point of note, the existing parcel right now is non-conforming to the AGC district. Property is located at the intersection of New Gray Rock Road and Gardendale Road in the TKK area. On the map here, everything in that like medium gray is TKK, so you can see that's surrounded by TKK. Property right now is an aerial view here, is existing one house and then one very large existing utility building, and they will both be demolished when they construct the property for the 2 new houses. There are no significant environmental issues with the property. So as you can see here in the green, there's a few remnant parcels that are still zoned AGC in this Fort Mill TKK area, just a couple here in the area. That larger pink is Baxter Village, and then everything else here you can see is in gray is TKK. There you go. The comprehensive plan for the area is single-family residential for this entire property, which typically that would require or recognize this area for low-density neighborhoods. They're suburban in character. This staff recommends approval for this application here, as what they're doing is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use map, and their proposed development and housing types is common in the RSF 40 from this common in this surrounding area. Any questions of staff?
Hearing no questions, do we have a motion? Oh, go ahead. Yes.
I'm sorry, yeah, real quick. So we'll see something later with the plans for how the piece of property will be divided, or why didn't
No,
they
you
include
won't
that
see
here?
anything in the future. There will just be 2 lots, and that's a minor subdivision, so this will be taken care of by staff. So you'd only see it at this point right here.
Okay, so why wouldn't they submit that as part of this as well, just showing you where the lot's gonna be? It's not
It's not
necessary?
necessary.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All right. Item 2214.
Okay, case number 2214 from Jeffrey Wilburn at 1691 Hansville Highway in Rock Hill, tax map number 78900000018. The request here is to rezone a 5.05 acre parcel from RSF 40 to RUD 1. And the applicant is requesting the rezoning to be able to allow chickens and livestock on this property. This request is a result of a code enforcement case. We had received a complaint from a neighbor about having livestock and chickens on the property. And we currently have a backyard chicken keeping ordinance, and what they would like to do goes actually beyond what the ordinance would allow. They want to do more than 6, have a rooster and other animals as well. Property is located on Hansmill Highway. It's just north of Mount Gallant Road. Parsley is 5.05 acres. There's one existing house, and then towards the back of the property are where the existing chicken coops and houses and farm animal buildings. There is, Marion, just one, careful. There is, I wanted to highlight the fact that there is a very large buffer around the property. There is some trees that block the neighbors from this parcel itself. There are no environmental conditions on this piece of property. As you can see, the majority of this area here is zoned RSF 40, which is what this property currently is. There's a little bit of AGC further out to the west, and north of that is some industrial development zoning. The comprehensive plan for the area shows this as single-family residential. There is no rural residential or agriculture recommended for this area here. So in that single-family residential neighborhood or designation, that's typically what you're going to have: low-density residential neighborhoods in suburban character. Staff recommends denial for this property, for this recommendation, or for this, rezoning request. It's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. RUD would allow more livestock and animals. It's more rural in nature than what we have in this property here. And it might cause additional compatibility issues with the neighborhood around it. Any questions of staff?
I think I'm gonna be the question guy. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
So in RUD, they could have more. Is there a number on what?
No, there's no limit.
So for RSF 40, the limit is then
6,
6 chickens
and no roosters.
and no roosters.
And that would be it. It would be chickens. I think they also may have had other fowl, turkeys, other things there too as well. There may have been a pig.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then do we have any other intermediate restrictions? It's either 6 and under, chickens only, and then whatever you want, depending on the zoning, and there's no other categories in between that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and real quick, I assume this used to be RC1,
That's correct.
and was there any different rules in RC1 about
Not
livestock?
regarding this, not for
Okay.
this use here.
Thank you.
May I ask the nature of the complaint? Because there's a very large, buffer here. You look at the aerial photo, we've got, trees on all sides, except where 274 is in Bridlewood, there's a couple little things, so.
From what I've spoken to the code enforcement officer, and I believe it was just, they had a couple of pigs there and chickens, and they just made a complaint. They didn't say what the issue was, they just complained or made notice to the county that there were chickens and pigs on the property.
Okay.
And it does mention 2 potbelly pigs,
Yeah.
In the application, yeah.
turkeys and ducks and chickens, yeah, right in the back. Any further questions?
One more.
Go ahead.
So across the street from this,
It's a very
Is
large
the-
pasture.
yeah, well, it's the horse farm. So technically, somebody could call them in, right? Because
Equestrian uses, there are some allowed uses for equestrian,
in RSF 40?
yes.
Okay.
5 acres and more, so
5
I
acres
believe
or
they would
more.
be able to
Okay.
meet that requirement.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One more. So, in light of what we discussed with some earlier things before us this evening, how long has this piece of property been there like this, and how long has this been happening before it was brought to attention? I understand it appears to be both out of the requirements in both the previous code and the recode, that this wasn't an allowable practice, if I've understood correctly, right? So,
Right.
Do we
The
have any-
neighborhood's been there for decades. As far as the use of the property with animals, and I do not know. And the applicant did not say how long they've been keeping the animals there. I do know they work with the rescue, and they
Okay.
keep the animals there, but I do not know how long it's been going on.
okay. Do we have the applicant here tonight?
Is the applicant here tonight? Would you like to ask the
Yes,
applicant that
we'd like
question?
to ask.
Okay. If you would like to step forward, state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Jeffrey Wilburn, and it's 1691 Hands Mill Highway.
Okay, and your question?
Yeah, my question is, how long have you had these animals on the property?
The chickens and ducks, all the fowl, like waterfowl and chickens and roosters, I've had for over 3 years. Never had a complaint, anything. And then I ended up rescuing 2 little potbelly pigs and somebody seen them and said that they were worried that it was gonna smell in the summertime. But yet they're still there and there's been no complaints. So that was the complaint. Everybody in the neighborhood's known that I've had birds. Nobody's ever said anything. People have bought eggs from me, turkey eggs, duck eggs, everything. So it's all because of the 2 potbelly pigs that I rescued.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions of the applicant?
And,
Thank you.
and I'm sorry, but I really like they're saying I can do more animals. I'm not doing this to do any more animals. I just want to keep what I got. I'm not trying to expand. I don't want I don't want goats. I don't want horses. I don't want anything. I spend enough money on these animals as it is.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much.
all right, thank you.
Any further questions of staff?
If I could add just one more thing I forgot to mention in my presentation here, but this would be considered a spot zoning because there is no RUD around here, just to keep that in mind when you make your decision.
If you had requested AGC, is that too far out? Would it still have been considered spot?
Well, yeah, because actually the AGC for the land use plan is not even here, and then for the district, yeah, it would be too far out for that. It needs to be really contiguous to, or.
I was
part
gonna
of
say,
the
it's pretty far,
It's a
but I wasn't
stretch.
sure.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
I appreciate that he didn't go for AGC to allow even more farm use.
Well, it would be the same
Yeah.
as far as farm use goes.
Would there be a special exception for, as long as he doesn't require any more animals?
We couldn't do that. No, it's the use is allowed or it's not allowed.
They couldn't get a variance for more chickens, like to go from just, you said the number was 6, right? Could they go?
I think
if
it's
they-
the
If they went to the
pigs.
zoning board, could they get and ask for 10?
I mean, it is a number. I do not believe they could. I think it's more of a dimensional thing for the variances as opposed to being able to make their additional chickens on the property.
Right. Okay. Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to deny the rezoning. I don't want to personally, but I feel like, neighbors, their expectations when you move into an area, it bothers me to put a limitation like that on such a large acreage, but since it's existing, I feel like that's where I'm coming from. So that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, but I just want to clarify.
Yeah, then
Even
it's
if-
open for further discussion. Go ahead.
Even if it's denied, he can still have 6 chickens?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I share the sentiments that I think we all have, that we're kind of painted into a corner about what we can do about this. And it's pretty clear that we have to decide in this manner, but it saddens me to see this, that we're forcing someone into a circumstance based on these regulations. And I guess our only choice is to rule it this way and allow that individual to proceed on to county council and have them take it up and decide what they want to do.
I think that's why nobody wanted to make the motion. We all want him to be able to keep the pigs in the, I certainly understand that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. It still does go before council, so.
Okay, this next case, rezoning case 2215 from Michael Pitts at 805 Gold Hill Road, tax map number 716-0000086. It's always the first screen. There we go. The request here is to rezone 6.69 acres from LI to GC. The property is currently the Fort Mill Hyundai place. at I-77 and Gold Hill Road. It's currently a legal, non-conforming property. The applicant is requesting the rezoning because they're doing a substantial renovation to the property, and when they do that, they have to bring the zoning district into compliance with the code. Like I mentioned, the property is located off of I-77. They gain access off of Gold Hill Road through the Fort Mill Ford. Let's see, come on. There we go. Here's the property as it currently stands. The renovation is pushing out the majority of the buildings, north and south, east and west. There are no environmental compliance issues with the property. So the property, as I mentioned, is currently zoned light industrial. All of that purple there around that is also light industrial. North of that is general commercial, and that is the existing Fort Mill Ford. They were rezoned a few years back for a similar issue. So there's a variety of districts in the area, including both general commercial and light industrial. The comprehensive plan for this parcel is I-77 corridor employment. It's also located at the outskirts of a neighborhood center node, which is centered at the intersection of Pleasant Road and Gold Hill Road. So it touches just that one portion of the property. The I-77 corridor employment area, that future land use is to provide land to attract large target industries of regional and statewide importance. The neighborhood center node is more of a localized neighborhood commercial area serving a population of about 3 miles. Staff is recommending approval of this zoning request. It is somewhat consistent with the comprehensive plan because what they're doing is a large car dealership, which might be considered of regional importance. It does serve more than just the local area. It does serve people throughout the region. And this also eliminates a non-conforming existing use. Any questions of staff?
I have one.
Sure.
If it was zoned LI.
It is zoned LI.
Okay, if it's zoned LI, how did they get to build the dealership if it was non-conforming?
I don't know that answer. I don't believe it predates zoning. Maybe at one point.
It was built in 2000. I remember it being
Yeah.
built, so.
Maybe at some point they could do it there. I can't answer that question.
Any further questions of staff? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 2216.
Rezoning case 2216 from Salem Builders at 7573 Region Parkway. Tax map number 726000087. The request is to rezone 7-acre portion of a property that's currently zoned RMX 20 and NC to LI. And the applicant is requesting the rezoning to be able to relocate an existing window and glass assembly business to this property here. Property is located in the Region Park area. It's at the intersection of Region Parkway and the railroad tracks. It's a very large parcel that spans both sides of the railroad tracks. The area to be rezoned is approximately 7 acres, just in that area that's highlighted in purplish. Just to get an aerial for the picture of this project here, once again, it's the area that's in the blue. Rest of it will remain undeveloped. And to help us out a little bit, I added a little map to kind of show you what the area is going on in here. So to the east of that is actually a boat and RV storage business. Like I mentioned, the railroad tracks are right along this piece of property. To the west is predominantly single-family homes. There are some townhomes to the south. There's also some apartments to the southeast. There is one industrial project that is south of this piece of property. It's been there for a long time. And then also in the area to the across railroad tracks, there are a school, a few church areas, and a few businesses as well. So it's a variety of uses. The intention is to be able to, and I want to come back, if I can go back one. on the piece of property here, this building right there, this is the maintenance building for the golf course. That's where they used to store all the equipment to maintain the golf course. And the intention is to redo this building right here, and the intention is to make it look more like that. So this will be his operation for assembling of windows. A general site plan for the area here. They're locating the access point off of near existing Heritage Boulevard. The railroad tracks are running along this section right here, just to kind of get your how it's positioned. There are a lot of environmental conditions or areas in this area, this parcel, but not so much where this rezoning is occurring. So there is some slope. Sugar Creek does border the other part of the parcel, as well as a variety of steep slopes. For zoning in the area, the majority of it is RMX 20. The blue on the east side, that's the Regent Park, Regal Manor, PD. There is some industrial below further south, and then the apartments are actually OI. The comprehensive plan for the entire area here is neighborhood residential. And that district, or that designation, is typically 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre for a variety of housing types. It does allow for some kind of neighborhood serving commercial if it is at an intersection of 2 major roads or if it's next to an existing commercial use. So because of that, council or staff is recommending denial, that this request is not consistent with the comprehensive plan or the future land use map. LI is not compatible with the neighborhood, and so we recommend denial. In your packet, as well as on the screen, we have added a note that if you do choose to approve or recommend approval, that you would include these 2 conditions. Any questions of staff?
Okay, I have some comments.
What comments come after the
Okay.
motion? Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you want to make a motion?
May I ask a quick question, though? I do
Of
have a
staff,
question
yes,
of staff.
absolutely.
So, okay, the first staff recommendation, the whole can't subdivide, or just one zoning, so then all of that would be LI?
No. So what they're going to do is just that 7-acre portion will be LI.
But all of the rest?
The rest of it staying, it's RMX 20.
20, okay.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this to rezone.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Does that include the conditions?
Yes.
So the motion to approve
Approve
with
with
with staff's conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Now we're open for discussion.
Okay. So I'm familiar with this area, and I love the building. I think it's really nice. This is next to the railroad tracks. So for it to be zoned for housing would not be conducive for a house to be next to the railroad track. So I think this is just a really nice plus to the area. Plus, on the plus side of that, the note that we had in the supplemental questions, if you look at that, it says the balance of the property for community park use and connection to the Carolina Thread Trails. So not only would this area get an improvement, but then it would have the opportunity to be up for community and park use, which would be tremendous for that area.
And it wouldn't add students to the school district,
Wouldn't add students,
which
not
for that
a
area.
lot of traffic.
That'd be a low-traffic business.
Right.
Any further discussion? Or questions?
I guess more of a comment than, I
Okay.
guess that's discussion, right?
That's discussion, comments,
discussion.
yes.
in looking at this and what was pointed out, could you go to the slide that you had the other, I think, no, this is the one, right? So we have another industrial space that's nearby.
There is
We have
one.
some other business and retail. It looks like this is still kind of in that transitional area in my mind. I know what the comprehensive plan says, but looking at this, if they were looking to put this building up much, much closer to where it's just strictly residential, I might have a lot more heartburn with it. But with where they are in this kind of transitional space and the amount that they're asking to do and the type of business going there, I think it makes sense to contradict what the comprehensive plan says. My 2 cents.
Any further comments, questions, or discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion? Okay, that one passes. On to 2217.
Case number 2217 at 1905 Highway 21 in Fort Mill. Tax map number 72100000064 and a portion of 72100000005. The request is to rezone a total of 1.96 acres from UD to GC. And the reason for that is to be able to construct 2 fast food restaurants on that piece of property. Commercial drive-throughs are no longer allowed in UD, and therefore they have to get it rezoned to GC to allow for the drive-throughs. Property is located on Highway 21 in Fort Mill, just south of the interchange with Carowinds Boulevard. It's currently a heavily wooded property. I've showed you in the map there, this is the 10-acre strip that they're also including with the rezoning. So it's this parcel right here and this strip right here of 10 feet. That's better. 10 feet to go into that one. And that's because they just couldn't quite make the site work and need a little bit more land. So they have some property from next door to be able to make the whole thing work. There are no environmental conditions in the area. For the zoning map, the majority of this property, this area here is currently zoned UD. There is some GC across the street. The comprehensive plan has this as an I-77 corridor employment, as well as part of the commercial infill designation. And that I-77 corridor, like we just mentioned in previous rezoning, it's meant to be able to attract large target industries with regional and statewide importance. Now, the commercial infill area, we don't see a whole lot of that one. And what that is, it's a flexible land use designation that we've identified certain corridors that are somewhat built out. And as they transition, we could see those as being medium intensity uses, things like general businesses, retail, and restaurants. So the staff is recommending approval for this request. It's somewhat consistent. The I-77 corridor employment, we really wouldn't typically want to see GC. That's more of a retail employer. However, it does meet the intent of the commercial infill part of it, and so therefore we recommend approval for that one. And we also have a condition here because this will involve a subdivision and recombination of the properties.
Are there any restrictions placed on driveway location?
Driveway location,
Like not on
it'll be accessed
21?
off of Retail Drive.
It'll be off of retail,
Yeah.
100%.
Plan.
Yeah, if there's a site plan in
show
your
that they're-
package.
And then they're using, I guess they're
I was
gonna,
gonna say, but
Well, can we go back and look at that site plan real quick?
I don't think I put it as in my presentation here because it didn't scan well. But is it in your package?
yeah.
And it does show
Yeah,
the
it's
access
in
on
the
Yeah,
retail.
it comes
Yes.
off,
But
the-
there-
Of retail.
it comes off of there, and then
It's
it
gonna
looks
come
like
in-
it's also connecting.
oh, is it stubbed to the next business? Okay.
Yeah. It
Yes.
stubs over, which they
Yeah, it'll
have the
stub into
driveway
here.
for, so they're only
Yeah, it stubs in where your
using
green
the
pointer
existing
is.
Yeah.
Right,
on 21.
And then it'll come out of here, but
And
no
then there's
access on
another-
here on 21.
There's another entrance back there to the back, right
Back
there.
here.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now the business that's next door, I believe that you can't come out of there and turn left, can
You
you?
cannot.
Because there's a
There's a
median
median right
divide,
there.
because
Sure
I've
is.
actually pulled that up and looked at the satellite images, and I had that same concern talking about what are they gonna be able to do? So they can come out of there and go right, but they cannot
Exactly.
go
Yeah,
left.
I had to post a sign right there, so yep. I had to go- I
Right,
had
so
to go
anyone
right.
who wanted to go left would have to come back down to the traffic light at, I'm sorry, what's that road?
Region Parkway.
Retail, right, okay. Yep.
Which is Signal.
Any further questions?
And we didn't even talk about that ahead of time. We were thinking about the same thing, huh?
Do we have a motion? Okay. Turn your mic on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I didn't know I was turned off. Okay. A lot of people are doing that to me today. Okay, so I make a motion that we approve this rezoning.
With their conditions?
Yes, yes. With the-
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. On to item 9.
Okay, recode text amendments. This is batch number 1, which indicates there'll be a 2. So just to kind of refresh everybody where we are right now, recode was adopted in February. It became effective in March. And this is the first batch of amendments. Total of 14 tonight, 8 of them for, 6 for 155 and 8 for 150, 6 for 154, 8 for 155. And how we got here is a combination of, as staff, we've been working through the code and discovered some things we needed to fix, some tweaks, some changes. But as well, council has been very active in a planning and zoning committee, and they've met almost every month to kind of go over some issues, some concerns, and so they've addressed all that, and we put it together in this first batch. So I'm going to go through all 14 of these changes. If you need to, I want to talk about every single one briefly. If you have any questions, please stop me. We can go over that. But I'm hoping at the end of the day, we'll have one large motion for the entire package. The first one here is for individual plats and land divisions. And the purpose of this one is to be able to codify that we can prohibit any kind of split zone parcels. As we've seen frequently, we do receive this. The bigger issue is when they come in to subdivide the property, does not actually resolve a rezoning, is to make sure they cannot do it as a split zone. It's been a policy in the past, now we're actually codifying that. And if I have no questions, I'm gonna go to the next one.
So just so because I've asked this question before, and just so I'm clear on what that really means. So if I have an AGC parcel and it's big, and I want to cleave off 5 acres for my, I don't know, small residential subdivision or something. So you're just saying they have to be 2 separate and stay 2 separate?
No, so what this is basically saying is I have a piece of property that is, we had a rezoning recently. It was RUD and it was LI. They were coming to LI. So they wanted to come in and just combine the property and have one parcel that was partially zoned LI and partially zoned RUD. Well, they can't do that. They have to be able to rezone that property, make sure the entire thing is the same thing. So, and they can't recombine properties or subdivide properties that are going to be causing split zones. So
But
each parcel.
they could have split the property, right, and had 2 parcels?
They can split the property, but they can't split the zone, the different zones. So if they can make it all in the same zone, they can subdivide it. But if that's going to cut or recombine, that's a bigger part of it. Is they're recombining these properties when they have 2 different zones. It's just a very difficult thing to be able to administer that and to be able to do setbacks and uses and a variety of things. And so it's like it's been a policy, now it's in the code.
So you're just saying one particular lot can't have multiple zoning codes because then you have all sorts of different issues.
Exactly. Thank you.
Any further questions on that?
All right. Going to the next one. This is for connections, and this is for utility connections. The code added that if you are within 1,000 feet of a public water and sewer, you must connect. Well, the intention was for it to, if you are within a county utility system, not just anybody's. So we wanted to make sure it was not just a public, it means the county's utility system. You must connect. So we're adding the word county to this.
All right, so I have a question about this one. Is the mandatory has always been there and it has just stated public?
No, the
okay.
mandatory is new to recode.
Okay, and so are there any acreage thresholds with that mandatory amount. So in other words, if I'm gonna chop off 30 acres of grandpa's 100, but I'm 1,000 feet and I've always wanted, want to be on well and septic. I don't want to be on county. Do I have to?
It's only when you come in to develop.
Okay,
So if you're developing the property, and if you're within 1,000 feet of existing county utilities, then you'll have to connect when you develop that property, but it's not residential, it's more for the commercial properties,
okay,
or a large subdivision. So if you're wanting to just do a small house right there, we're not gonna make you connect, no.
okay.
But if you're doing a subdivision, or if you're doing a commercial project within 1,000 feet of a county system, we're gonna require you to connect onto our system.
And so what triggers for most of the people out there to understand that distinction? How will how will that be clear to them in the way the code's written? Is it the word development that
It's
is
the
the
major
big?
subdivision, so when they come in to do a major subdivision, that's when they'll be told,
Okay,
more than seven or more.
7 or more.
7 or more, okay.
6.
And so I don't know if we're editing this, I don't know if it might be worthy to put that in there, that a new development, which is more than 7, is that
Well,
Correct or
this falls
not?
under
Probably
the
within
chapter.
another section of the code, which kind of then goes back to that and refers that to clarify that one.
okay? I have to be honest, I didn't try and read the whole code or go back and see every piece of this, because there
And
was
we
a
didn't
lot
want to
here.
show the
but-
entire code, but this is the section we're actually changing. But
So
this is-
that section already gets you into that you're above
If you're in
certain
here,
amount of
you're
number.
doing that.
Thank you very much, okay.
I know this is probably a little far-fetched, but how does this apply out, like, on the edge of the USB? Just outside, just inside, you know?
Well, the USB is a policy document, and so that's kind of a guideline. If there's utilities out that way or being extended out that way, maybe we need to adjust the USB then. So I don't think that would make you exempt from that if you're outside of the USB, but I think it's broad enough that you're outside of that area.
Okay. And this applies to any commercial development. So,
Right, and Jonathan, if you can remind me, are there some provisions where there are some exemptions if you're within a certain thing, Public Works Director can do
I'm
something?
just thinking like small scale,
Yes, you can get a waiver from this connection requirement from the engineering department or Public Works.
okay.
So there is a little bit of an out if we need to. Okay, the next one here is liability agreements. So a liability agreement it was intended originally for landfills and mining operations. And part of that, the reason for that is it requires the Public Works Director to look at the roads nearby that landfill or the mining operations to see whether or not that they are able to, in a good condition, to be able to withhold for truck traffic and large traffic. When we did recode, it also brought in this 20 acres of land development as well. And that's going beyond what the intention of the liability agreement was for. And so we're deleting that section for the 20 acres. No questions? Go on to the next one.
Sorry.
Sure, we can go back.
So doesn't that hamstring us a little bit in exactly what we're trying not to do in terms of roads and larger developments?
What we're looking at here is the condition of the road and whether it can withstand heavy truck traffic. I think that was the purpose of, that's the intent of that. And so to look at every individual development to see whether it can withstand truck, it's really not a practical task.
So this is really just kind of dependent on, you're having the weight of the truck.
Yeah,
When
so
you-
it's really more the
There's
size of
there's a
the
lot
truck,
more
not
weight
the
involved in the, yeah. The next one here is about minimum open space required in the base districts. And this amendment removes any open space requirement from all RUD and RUD1 districts. Currently, if you have 20% open spaces required from RUD and RUD1, if you're within the USB, that's been taken away. So nothing RUD and RUD1 is going to require open space. Any questions? Moving on. This next amendment here is, it's to remove the requirement to separately plat open space for commercial projects. So when you're developing a project and you're doing residential, as you've seen, we have the open space is a separate platted piece of property. Well, the code was saying that that's the same thing for commercial properties or non-residential developments. And that's not the way that actually works. Otherwise, you're gonna have like one large commercial project and you're subdividing out individual open space, and it doesn't work that well. So that's why we're making that clarification that it does not include non-residential projects. Tree surveys. So as a part of the, we're looking at the open space and the USB connection, we also knew that it related to the tree save areas. So this amendment removes the USB designation and allowing a sample survey for specific tree save areas. So it removes that if you're in or outside of the USB, they can all do that sample survey. Minimum widths, lots, and arterial collector roads. When you're doing a very large document like recode, sometimes your tables kind of get a little confused. And we did this one here, we eliminated the column that had the major collector lot widths. So as it is right now showing, they're all 350 feet. And so this modification or this amendment is to bring it back to restore how it was before recode, to add back in that 150 feet for major collector lot widths. Accessory structures. This amendment here only applies to the Lake Wiley overlay. And within that overlay, we have an accessory structure for design guidelines requirement. And that regulates things like size, height, setback, and materials. And then applying that, it captured a lot of parcels, probably way too many. So we're scaling it back a little bit, and it will only apply to if a parcel is less than 1 acre or adjacent to Lake Wiley. And I think that was the intent of requiring these design guidelines were for the smaller lots or if you're actually right next to the lake. So we're making that amendment.
What's the size requirement?
600 square feet is the max, or some number no, there's a number or the size of square of the house. Remember what that?
It's a percentage of
the house or max or 600 square feet. Is that, Marion, is that right?
It's 50% of the heated square feet of the house is the heated square feet of the ADU. And I believe the maximum right now is,
I think it's
600
square feet, whichever is greater though.
yeah,
whichever is greater.
yes. You can't really meet code less than 600 square feet.
The next one here is the design standards for RSF 40 for manufactured homes. So as part of Recode, we wanted to be able to elevate the quality of our manufactured homes. And in doing so, we added some conditions and some design guidelines or some design requirements. We've heard from the industry, and so we're making a few changes to that. The intent was to be able to have the manufactured homes very similar to the existing stick-built homes that are around it. So what we're doing here is we are reducing the roof pitch requirements, we are reducing the eave projection requirements, and we are reducing the minimum width of that. So you can do a little bit shallower roof, a little bit less projection of your eaves, and a little bit smaller width. Any questions? Screening standards. So we have screening standards for outdoor vehicles, RVs, boat storage areas. As we're doing the code, we noticed there was a little bit of didn't quite capture something, so we wanted to make it sure it was very clear that anything with a boat and RV storage will have an 8-foot opaque fence always installed. Although it says backyard chicken keeping, it's backyard chicken keeping and beekeeping. So we were asked to be able to include keeping of bees in our ordinance, and we felt it kind of fit along in the section for the backyard chickens. And so we're adding that as an accessory use to single-family detached dwellings. You can have up to 3 hives, consisting of one queen European honey bee and her workers, and that's per lot. And then it has the same conditions for nuisance and sanitary issues as chickens. You must provide some fresh water, and same setbacks are established as they are for chickens. Any questions?
All lot sizes?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask.
Is that on all lot sizes?
Yeah, is it a minimum for chickens? I didn't think so, yeah. Or bees, all lot sizes.
Even, what, RMX 6?
Yeah, because those are pretty small.
Would apply to all of the residential districts except for RMX 6.
So 10, but still 10.
That's what chickens have now. We're just adding bees to it as well.
I know, I'm actually a little bit more concerned about the bees.
The bees,
I mean, I would love to have bees and chickens, that's more of an HOA thing for us, but I'm just thinking from a beekeeper's standpoint, that's a small lot for 3 hives.
yeah, I don't think they had any concerns about the lot sizes. We did speak to a
No,
bee
He made
guy.
a pretty passionate argument about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was very informative.
it was.
You know, most people, that's where the 3 came from, I believe that was his suggestion, because most people just keep 3. You know, if you go above that, it's like a full-time occupation.
Yeah, these are for like hobbyists kind of thing.
Yeah, this is like that was the exact word he used, the hobbyist.
You need to turn that on.
Did I read that right, that except within the Lake Wiley overlay, you can't, so basically Lake Wiley can have a rooster, but no one else can?
That's correct.
So everybody's gonna be going to Lake
echo
Wiley
across
every
the
once in a
lake.
while?
Okay.
Those roosters are gonna drive me crazy. So it sounds like, were there any concerns or recommendations on the RMX 10 versus RMX 20 on the beekeeping?
Obviously, I'm not the expert, and if you guys had a presentation, that's great, but as someone that's allergic to bees, and I do know that they don't stay right on their hive.
Right.
That, I would personally be concerned if I moved right next door to somebody on a really small lot with 3 hives. So, I don't know,
They travel quite far. I was
They do.
surprised.
They
travel
They
like
really
5
do.
miles
That's-
a day for water.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Which is great when they're just around and naturally doing their thing, that's not a
Right,
huge
when they
deal,
come-
but when they're concentrated, then obviously you can run into more
chances
issues.
are higher.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we go to make the motion, you may want to keep that in mind as a possible change.
I don't know if I have the expertise to make that change, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
but if we have a bee expert, I mean, he obviously has his
might be sleep.
slant, right, versus,
Yeah.
you know, neighbor concerns. I'm not allergic to bees, but that was my first thought was,
Right.
you know, if you have somebody move in and they don't realize there's 3 hives next door, that could be a concern.
But I mean, maybe even 1 hive would be too, you know,
Right.
and I like the idea of allowing it, that's not the.
Right.
I don't know.
Just the lot size concern. Okay,
Yeah, no, I understand.
And
I have to think about that.
I would like to see something relevant to the discussion we had with the proposal earlier tonight about how you might be able to adjust and come up with some intermediate steps that if you're in, let me see if I get this right, if you're in RSF 40 and you have this many acres on your lot, then 6, you don't have to stay limited to 6. You could go up to this and you might be able to have this or that. I think that some of the property amount that you have has to play into it versus just the minimum lot size that would be permitted, right? And I'm not sure how you all address that, but I think it's something that should have some more discussion about how you make some steps between RSF 40 and full AGC or whatever RUD that might allow all of that to go on, right? And there be something in between. Just, I know you want to try and get this resolved and get it done, but I think we're going to have more situations down the road like we did earlier tonight where all of us feel like our hands are really tied about someone who's got 5 acres worth of property and is being told, well, you're not zoned right and you'd have to kill 2 pigs and 3 chickens to be able to keep, be in compliance.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to
Well,
kill them, just,
Yeah, right, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand the concern, and then we do see that. Chickens are new to the code with Recode, so I think we'll play with it, see how it goes. There was a person that came to speak out at council, I think at the last meeting, and she would like to see more chickens as well, so we'll see if council has heard that and is gonna give us any direction, but at this point, we haven't heard anything about wanting to increase that, but see how we go with what we have right now.
Yeah, and I just want to be careful because I see, the proposed ordinance by council, and I don't know when they plan to actually vote and sign on that, but if it's at the next council meeting, have we got enough time to give them some other intermediate recommendations?
Yes,
Is all
it
I'm
goes-
trying to,
Third reading is at the next meeting with county council, and I will add comments to that agenda item as I hear tonight.
okay.
Kate, I was gonna say, in relation to your concern on the sizing, I did notice flipping the page, coops, cages, bee colonies, and outdoor enclosures shall be located no closer than 30 feet from a rear yard or side yard lot line.
Yeah, I did read that too, so that does help, because I mean, I think that sort of naturally limits, but I'm sure you'd still probably find some people that would go vertical or something with their.
They did say, though, if you get too high, because that was a discussion about having that boxes stacked up, it gets very dangerous as well, so they prefer to have them go wide than they do high.
Learn something new every day.
We learned a lot that night.
yeah, that guy spoke for a good 20 minutes and nobody said anything, just listening to him.
Bees are afraid of heights.
Safe to move to the next one. I'm getting close to the end. Similar to our previous amendment about the screening, same effect to the ordinance here, where this also includes if you have any kind of outdoor storage, and that's in the RI, LI, and ID districts, required to put that 8-foot opaque fence if you have outside storage.
Can we add to that, and actually maybe even back to the outdoor parking one, can there also be some requirement for green, not just opaque, natural plantings?
So there will be a buffer in addition to that, as required by the code.
There is still the buffer, yes?
Right, there's still a buffer in addition to a fence.
Okay,
So there
that
will
is-
be some green part of that as well. So yeah, there will be both. This next one is measurement of setbacks. And Recode did a really good job on establishing how to measure things, so it's very clear as to how we do this. But we wanted to be able to make one further clarification as to how we measure the setback and include from the edge of right-of-way, whichever is closer, or the lot line. Just make it even better. And our last amendment here is for amendment to a definition for data center. And this is to be able to include cryptocurrency mining as part of a data center, to make that apparent that was included in that definition. And then also to make sure that it was located inside a building. I don't know if you've heard discussion about that recently. They've been locating them in like little trailers and
Open air.
well, not so much open air, because they have computers. And so they make a lot of noise, and we'll make sure they're actually located within a building.
And not a shipping container.
Shipping containers, yeah. That's my last amendment.
Any questions of staff? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept all the revisions as presented.
Do we have a second? I'll second it so we can go on to discussion.
So, quick question, if we go ahead and vote for these, can we also then ask, like we were talking about, for you to include some suggestions or questions further for council?
Yeah, I can include that in my, in the amendment, in the agenda item for council to say, these were the things they were concerned about.
Because I do feel like, the gentleman was on 5 acres, but yet the expectation is it's residential. So I had a hard time making that motion. I want there to be some wiggle room, for lack of a
Yeah,
better
we
term.
don't do wiggle room.
I know, exactly,
but we
for lack
do-
of a
we
better
do
term.
We do different, like, levels. We
Exactly,
can
and
do
I
that.
think stair-stepped, you know, this much land, this number of animals
Sure.
to exclude roosters. I don't know, but something to that effect.
So are you asking that be included in the motion, that we approve this, but also ask that they, or just do that
I
separately?
was gonna say, I'm fine to vote on it as long as you will take it to them.
Yes. Yes, I will.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Okay. Any questions, comments on the tracking sheet? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
Yay.